Have you ever noticed how some people are always laughing, always cracking jokes, always smiling, even in the most serious moments, and yet something about their eyes feels tired, distant, or strangely empty? At first glance, they look like the happiest people in the room. They make others feel comfortable, they lighten the mood, they turn pain into humor so effortlessly that you almost forget to ask how they are really doing. But psychology tells us something uncomfortable and deeply human about this behavior. Sometimes the loudest laughter is not a sign of happiness. Sometimes it is a shield. Sometimes it is survival. Let me ask you something honestly. When life hurts you, do you talk about it openly or do you laugh it off? Do you say, "I'm fine," with a smile that convinces everyone except yourself? If you've ever done that, then this video is not about other people. It's about you, me, and millions of humans who learned early on that showing pain was either unsafe, unwanted, or simply ignored. In psychology, laughter is often associated with joy, connection, and relief, but it can also be a defense mechanism, a very powerful one. People who laugh to hide pain are not pretending for attention. In most cases, they are protecting themselves from vulnerability. Somewhere along the way, they learned that being strong, funny, or easygoing was rewarded, while being sad, confused, or emotionally messy was not. Think about childhood for a moment. Many people who use humor to hide pain grew up in environments where emotions were minimized. They may have heard phrases like, "Don't cry, it's not that serious," or "Others have it worse." Over time, the brain adapts. Instead of expressing pain directly, it finds a socially acceptable outlet. Humor becomes the language of pain. Laughter becomes the mask that says, "I'm okay enough to be loved." Psychologically speaking, this is a classic example of emotional suppression mixed with social adaptation. The brain learns that expressing pain risks rejection, judgment, or burdening others, so it reroutes emotional energy into something safer. Laughter is safe. Laughter makes people stay. Laughter makes people like you. Pain, on the other hand, makes people uncomfortable. What most people don't realize is that this pattern doesn't come from weakness. It comes from intelligence and emotional awareness. People who laugh through pain are often highly empathetic. They can read a room. They know when tension is rising. They know how to diffuse discomfort. They know how to take emotional weight off others, even if it means carrying it themselves. But here's the psychological cost. Suppressed emotions don't disappear. They settle into the nervous system. They show up later as anxiety, exhaustion, emotional numbness, sudden irritability, or a strange feeling of emptiness that appears when the laughter stops. Many people describe it as feeling fine on the outside, but constantly tired on the inside, like they're running an emotional marathon without ever crossing a finish line. One reason this pattern is so common in adults is because society subtly rewards it. The person who jokes through stress is called strong. The person who laughs after heartbreak is called resilient. The person who never complains is called easy to be around. But psychology reminds us that resilience without emotional release eventually turns into burnout. There's also a deeper layer here related to identity. Over time, the funny, smiling version of the self becomes the only version that feels acceptable. People start asking you to be the funny one. They expect positivity from you. And slowly, you start feeling guilty for having bad days because you've trained everyone, including yourself, to believe that you're always okay. Another important psychological concept at play is control. Pain makes us feel powerless. Humor gives us control. When you joke about your pain, you decide how it's presented. You decide the tone. You decide the timing. In a strange way, laughter becomes a way to stay in charge of a narrative that otherwise feels overwhelming. But there's a silent contradiction here. The more you laugh to hide pain, the less people learn how to support the real you. They support the version you perform, not the version that hurts. This creates a cycle where you feel unseen, yet you're the one hiding. Research in emotional psychology also shows that chronic emotional masking increases stress hormones in the body. Even if you're smiling, your nervous system knows the truth. The body keeps score. That's why many people who appear cheerful struggle privately with insomnia, overthinking, or sudden emotional crashes when they're alone. Let's talk about relationships for a moment. People who laugh to hide pain often become the emotional anchors in friendships and families. Others vent to them, others lean on them, but when it's their turn to speak, they downplay their struggles. They say things like, "It's nothing," or "I'll be fine," because they don't want to disrupt the balance. Deep down, many of them fear that if they stop being positive, they'll stop being needed. This fear is not irrational, it's learned, and once learned, it's incredibly hard to unlearn. Now, here's the part most videos don't talk about. Not all laughter hiding pain is unhealthy. Humor can genuinely help people process trauma. It can create psychological distance from overwhelming experiences. It can even help the brain reframe pain in a way that feels manageable. The problem begins when laughter becomes the only allowed emotion. Healthy emotional regulation includes a full range of expression: joy, sadness, anger, fear, relief. When laughter replaces everything else, emotional balance is lost. You're not broken for doing this, you adapted, but adaptation is not the same as healing. If you recognize yourself in this pattern, the goal is not to stop being funny or positive. The goal is to create safe spaces where you don't have to perform. Even one person who can see past your smile and ask, "How are you really doing?" can begin to shift this pattern. Psychology shows that naming emotions reduces their intensity. You don't need dramatic confessions. Sometimes simply saying, "I'm actually not okay today," is enough to release pressure that's been building for years. For those watching who love someone like this, understand something important. If someone always jokes about their pain, don't assume they don't feel it deeply. Often, they feel it more than they show. What they need is not advice or fixing. What they need is permission to be human without losing connection. And if this video feels uncomfortably accurate, pause for a second and ask yourself why. Awareness is the first step towards change. You don't have to carry everything alone, and you don't have to earn love by being entertaining. Before we continue, if this kind of psychological content speaks to you, if it puts words to feelings you've never been able to explain, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this content reach people who need it, and it tells me to keep going deeper into the psychology that actually matters. People who laugh to hide pain are not broken. They are often the strongest people in the room. But strength without softness becomes a cage. Real healing begins when laughter is a choice, not a requirement. So the next time you see someone laughing a little too hard, smiling a little too fast, or joking at their own expense, remember this. That laughter might not be happiness. It might be courage, it might be protection, and it might be a quiet request to be seen. If you've ever used laughter as armor, you're not alone, and you don't have to wear it forever. If you want more videos that explore the real psychology behind human behavior, emotional masks, and the hidden patterns we all live with, subscribe now and stay with us. This channel isn't about pretending we're okay, it's about understanding why we pretend in the first place.